Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Shelley. Today we're going to talk about UK rail, which is great, and we have a special guest with us today, which is Jack Ty. So we have got Blaze on the other end as usual, so if you have any questions during this, feel free to type them away and we'll answer them at the end. Now, it is going to be a little bit more, I'm going to have a rest today and not talk as much, which is great. So Jack is from our reservations team. He's from the UK and used to work with the railways over there, so he's very knowledgeable. So do make use of this time. If you do have any questions for Jack, please feel free to type them. So to start off, what we're going to cover today is the rail geography of the UK. Talk a little bit about the tickets and the reservations and what you need to do. They are slightly different in some terms to Europe. Classes of travel, and we'll do live questions and answers at the end as well. So I will hand over to Jack for you. Now Jack works with the Australian reservations team, but he does help out the New Zealand team as well. So if you ever do have questions when you are calling through as well and do want to ask for Jack's advice, you are welcome to do so. Cool, over to you.
Perfect, thanks Shelley. Good morning everyone. As Shelley mentioned, I'm Jack. I've worked for the UK Rail Network the past 10 years or so before coming out to New Zealand. So I've got a little bit of knowledge and hopefully today I can share that with you. So to start off, we'll cover some of the basic geography, and on here we've got England and Wales, a map of the rail network there. Now I've pointed out a few of the main spots and the time it takes to get there from London. As you can see, some of the main points that our passengers do go to are York, which takes around 2 hours, and Edinburgh, that's around 4.5 hours. And we've got a few of the other destinations there. These are the main hubs that passengers can change at when travelling around the UK. We've got a map of the London Underground system here as well. So it just gives you a bit of an example of how passengers can get around. Now, most of our passengers will arrive into Heathrow or Gatwick. The majority do go to Heathrow, so I'll talk a little bit about that. When they land into Heathrow, they've got two options of getting into central London. They can catch the Heathrow Express, which takes them directly into Paddington in around 15 minutes or so, and those run every 15 minutes. There's first class and second class on there as well. The other option they've got is from Heathrow. There is an underground service that takes them straight into central London as well. Now this does take a little longer, but if they're going to West London, such as King's Cross or Euston, it is worthwhile thinking, can they catch the underground? Because this way they can catch a direct service. If they go to Paddington, they then need to catch a couple of trains to get to Euston, or one train extra to get to King's Cross, and that's on the underground, so it means lugging the bags around. So if they can catch a direct train to King's Cross or Euston from Heathrow, it's really worth thinking about. Overall, by the time they've changed, it's actually a similar time scale there for them as well. Scotland. So a little bit of information about Scotland and where the main points are. A lot of our passengers want to go to Glasgow, which is the largest city. That's up on the west coastline on Virgin trains, or to Edinburgh, which is the capital city, and that's up the east coast, and that is on LNER. So if you go up to Edinburgh, they'd be travelling from King's Cross, and if they go to Glasgow, they'll be travelling from Euston. If their passengers want to get between Glasgow and Edinburgh to have a day out to see both, it's only about an hour on the train, and there's around 10 trains every hour. So what do we offer with BritRail passes? We've got a lot to choose from here. There's 10 different types with a mixture of flexi tickets and continuous tickets. We've got the BritRail consecutive pass, the BritRail flexi pass, the England consecutive pass, the England flexi pass, the Southwest flexi pass, the Southwest consecutive pass, the London plus pass, Central Scotland pass, Spirit of Scotland pass, and the Scottish Highlands pass. Now, probably the most popular out of these is the BritRail Flexi Pass. This gives our passengers the ability to travel widely across the UK. It's really useful. Trains, when bought on the day in the UK, are very expensive. And whenever I was working and would see a BritRail pass, we'd always comment on how cheap these were compared to buying travel locally. It's really worthwhile getting one of these for passengers, especially if they're doing any journeys outside of London. So what are the benefits of a BritRail pass? It's quicker by rail, So travel times are reduced and passengers can travel direct to the city centre. The UK is extensively covered by rail networks. I used to do a lot of walking, for example, in the UK. You can go into the countryside even on the trains, and there's some spectacular journeys that you can do on normal trains as well. So there's not just the luxury trains, there are some of the world's great train journeys that you can do on normal passenger trains, which are normally priced to use on your Britrail pass, such as the Settle and Carlisle Railway. So flexibility, there's no need to choose times and dates prior to arrival. You've got complete flexibility with the pass if you want that. Complimentary reservations. So reservations can only be booked locally. The really great thing about that means that they're completely free. So they don't cost anything, and passengers can go up to any ticket office and they can even book all their seat reservations at once if they want to. All I'd recommend is having them written down so that you can pass them over and the consultant can do these all at once for you. Unlimited travel per day. So unlike a point-to-point ticket, the travel pass gets them around as much as they want. So if they want to go in a triangle through 3 different cities, they're more than welcome to that, and it only uses 1 day of the pass. So what's on offer at the moment? So currently we've got 20% discount on certain Britrail passes until the 22nd of February 19. So the 20% discount applies to the following passes. That's consecutive and flexi passes for the Britrail, the England consecutive and flexi, the Southwest consecutive and flexi, and the Spirit of Scotland. Travel has to be completed no later than the end of February 2019. So if they're looking at doing that, it's a really great offer, and a lot of our clients are taking this up at the moment. So move on to point-to-point ticket types. So these differ from the Britrail, where they are for a specific journey only. So there's 2 types of flexible point-to-point tickets and 1 type of fixed point-to-point ticket. We'll come on to that one afterwards. So the flexible ones, we've got Anytime, which is a flexible ticket for any time of day and is valid for the day of purchase and the following day for a single use. So they can't double back on themselves. This is just for the one journey, but it's flexible for any time at all, no restrictions. Off-peak, so it's a flexible ticket for 1 day only, not the following day, and there's restrictions on use. This does vary, but often it's not valid before 9:30 on a morning or between 3 and 7 p.m. Now on a weekend, it's all off-peak, so they can travel at any time on a Saturday or Sunday. So if they're traveling on a weekend, they only ever need the off-peak ticket in the UK. Seat reservations are not included with either of these ticket types, but they can be made locally. So we'll move on to the advance designated train ticket. So this is the 3rd type of point-to-point ticket in the UK. You can save up to 80% on a flexible ticket on these. They're really worthwhile getting. It is for a booked train only, so they do have to choose beforehand and they can't change it easily. Now that can be changed locally, but if they were to wait until the time of travel and change them locally, it's very expensive. So if our passengers have got an advance purchase ticket and they need to change it, what we would suggest, it's actually often cheaper for them to just buy a new one, just because these are so heavily discounted. If they turn up on the day and want to change it, it's very expensive. So these are instant purchase, like all point-to-point tickets in the UK. And as I mentioned, these ones are for a specific train only. That means that the reservation system has to be released. To be able to do that, they need to be booking 90 days ahead. If they're looking at 100 days ahead, these won't be released yet, and you will only see the most expensive fares. So do double check that, please. Seat reservations, as we mentioned, they're complimentary, but they're not compulsory. So the really good thing about that is passengers can travel as long as they're not in peak time. They can just jump on a train and often won't have a problem with finding a seat. It's really easy there, and we recommend making a reservation if you are traveling during peak times. You don't have to, but we do recommend it certainly. Collecting tickets, really easy. When we issue a ticket, it comes out as a PNR reference, 8 digits long in the UK, and it's all it's numbers and letters. So what they need to do is take this with any credit card at all, and they can use the machine. So all it does is ask them to put a card in. It doesn't have to be the same card they paid with, it can be any card at all. And then it'll ask them for their 8-digit PNR reference number. An even easier way to do it is just to go to the ticket desk before travel, and they'll print them out for you manually and hand them over to you. So locally, they call this a TOD, which is a ticket on departure. and this can be done at most stations, including Heathrow and Gatwick. If a client has multiple journeys as well, they can collect all of them at once. They don't just have to pick them up as they go along. The ticket machines are really easy, and they've got on-screen instructions. So classes of travel, we've got 2 classes of travel in the UK, standard and first class. Some of the regional trains don't have first class accommodation on them, which is worth noting, and the first class ticket prices won't come up when searching for them. On longer journeys, first class will often include a complimentary meal and drink, and standard class often has a trolley service serving food and drink. So first class, some examples of this are an at-seat service, free Wi-Fi on most trains, lounge access at some major stations with flexi tickets, larger, more comfy seats, fewer passengers travelling in the carriage as well. We've got complimentary offers on board the longer distance ones if they're travelling over 70 minutes, snacks and soft drinks, and meals and alcoholic drinks on the longer distance trains, which is a real bonus to the first class travel. Standard class in the UK, so there's a trolley service retailing snacks and drinks. You'll have basic seating with them. You've got more passengers per carriage, and Wi-Fi on some services which may be chargeable. So LNER is the company that I was lucky enough to work for in the UK. Really great company that offers the line from King's Cross up into Scotland through Edinburgh on the East Coast Main Line. They go up to Aberdeen and Inverness, and you can get to many of the points in Scotland which are really famous and popular with tourists. So there's regular daily departures on most routes, departing every 30 minutes to an hour. So there's 2 classes of service. So you've got first class, which has reclining seats, more space. You get the morning paper on board as well. You get free Wi-Fi and complimentary food and drink, as I mentioned. Now, the food offer on LNER actually has been made by celebrity chef James Martin, which is a really great thing, and the food I can vouch for is fantastic. We've also got standard class, which has a food bar in there where passengers can buy drinks and snacks and meals if they want to. There's reserved seating. We've got priority seating for elderly or disabled passengers, quiet coaches, power sockets in all of the carriages, and a trolley service that comes through retailing if passengers don't want to go to the food bar. Now, LNER are just about to start rolling out brand new trains. So LNER stands for London North East Railway. So it goes on the East Coast. These new trains are called Azuma. That's because they've been purchased from Japan, and in Japan, Azuma means east. So the newest trains in the UK are going to be on the East Coast Main Line. So if any passengers want to travel on what is the newest and best trains, they can go on LNER from King's Cross up to York, Newcastle and Edinburgh, and further up to Inverness and Aberdeen.
Cool, thank you, Jack. So I'm going to just tell you quickly about a few other things, but if you do have any questions while you think of them now for Jack, feel free to type them away while I talk. I will just reiterate on that advanced fare thing, because I do get asked that quite a lot. So there are those 3 different types of tickets, and the UK are different to Europe, and that if they do wait till closer to the time, so around that 90-day period, they should be able to get an advanced fare. So if they are looking about 6 months out, thinking they're well in advance, they're going to get a good fare, it's not necessarily the case in the UK. They do need to wait a little bit longer to get the better advanced fare. Now also, I just want to tell you about the new feature on the website. So we now have a new feature, which is a copy routes feature. And this is when you're in your multi-city search booking on the homepage. Obviously, you can type in all your different sectors, dates and times and search. You can now copy these links. So the copy standard link or copy complete link are slightly different in the fact that one will copy just the routes for you, and the second will copy the routes and the dates and the times. This includes even your instant purchase tickets. Obviously, those prices may change if you're coming back to look at the route 5 days later. Do be aware of that. But it's really simple to be able to search it all now and come back to it, say tomorrow, to book it. So it's really going to be very helpful for both agents and our reservations team. You might find that if you come through on email and the reservations team are quoting something for you, they might give you that link at the bottom so that you can then go and book it yourself, which is really fantastic new feature. So do give that a try. Now we have a few luxury rail journeys in the UK. Obviously the Venice Simplon Orient Express, which we all should know about. The Balmain British Pullman is a really good sort of upsell journey for people that would like to do maybe the Orient Express but don't have the funds or the time for that. It is a day trip on the British Pullman, and they are in their 1920s state, so pretty old carriages. A luxurious day out. It includes their meals and their beverages, and they can go to places such as Bath or Blenheim Palace, etc. So this is a really good option for people that don't have a lot of time or would like to experience that luxury in a day trip. The Balmain Grand Hibernian is the first of its kind in Ireland, the luxury train here. Now this offers 2, 4 or 6 night journeys that begin and end in Dublin, and the uniqueness of this train is that it sidelines at night, so they won't be travelling through the night, which is quite nice for some people. And then obviously you have the Balmain Royal Scotsman as well. This takes a maximum of 40 guests on board, and it does have a variety of different journeys, so ranging from 2 to 7 night journeys. There's about 14 twins, 2 doubles and 4 single cabins on board, so there's not as many doubles as twins, so they do need to book in advance if they want to get into those. But there are a few of our luxury train journeys that we do offer in the UK, and obviously you're getting commissions of around that 9 to 12% on luxury as well. So that brings us to about the end. Please feel free to ask your questions now, and Jack can answer them. We do also have a Facebook group online now, which is Rail Plus Agents. This is both for Australian and New Zealand agents, so you can ask away there. Generally, Blaze will be answering questions there as well, and we'll be putting up some tips and tricks on there quite often as well. So do join that Facebook group if you can. Right, any questions? Let's see.
So, first question that's come through is a multifaceted one. So first point of it is, are there any limits on seat reservations? Second is, how many can you book at the same time? And then, are there any no-show penalties? So for a single journey, you can only book 1 reservation. You can't book on multiple train services. So you can, if you're travelling from London to York and you've got your Britrail pass or a flexi ticket and you go up, you can only book on the 1 service. However, if you've got a Britrail pass and you're going from London to York, York to Manchester, Manchester back to London, you can book all 3 of these at once, or a number of them you just can't book multiple ones for the same journey. There aren't any no-show penalties, so if a passenger doesn't want to travel and use it, there are no penalties for that at all. The thing about reservations in the UK is that, as I mentioned, they're complimentary, so it's really it is really easy to go up and book ahead. These must be done, though. One thing to note: these must be done before 6 p.m. The day prior to travel. So if a passenger lands into the UK on a morning, they wouldn't be able to book a seat for travel that day. Okay, so we've got another question come through now, asking, are there any itineraries you would recommend or day trips from London? So it's a fantastic question, and one we do get asked a lot. So the itineraries that I would recommend throughout the whole of the UK, I did mention earlier there is the Settle to Carlisle line. Now this is one of the world's greatest rail journeys, often talked about in the same breath as the Transalpine as well. So it's really one to have a look into. This runs from Leeds up to Carlisle. Now this can just be booked on a normal ticket. If anyone wants to check in with Shelley or myself afterwards, we can talk you through this as well. But that travels from Leeds up to Carlisle, and you can do it back in a day as well. I've walked a lot of that route as well, and travelled on the train, and it's absolutely spectacular. From London, I would say that there are some great days out. You can go to the south coast, to Brighton, which is really popular. You can go You can go west to Bath, which is an historic town which is near to Bristol. And it's a fantastic place to wander around, a lot of old buildings, and you really get to see a sense of the UK in a small town. If you want to go north, there are places such as Warwick, or in particular Bletchley, which is just south of Milton Keynes. Now, Bletchley Station is next to Bletchley Park, which some of you may know was the Enigma machine, which is what broke the Germans' code in World War II and effectively won the war. Now, there's a museum for this, and it's a fantastic place to go to. It's only about half an hour on the train out of London.
Any more questions, guys? Just while we're waiting, I will mention that we do have the Eurostar early bird out at the moment. So this is running, the Eurostar is now released for 9 months in advance, which is great. So get in there now because they're quite cheap, nice and early for the early birds. What are the commissions on rail passes now? So this, off the top of my head, is 2 to 4%, I believe, depending on the pass that you're booking. I can't tell you exactly confirm that, but we can let you know if you want to flick through an email. We also actually have a commissions sheet if you do want to get that, which has a breakdown of the commissions of every product that we do sell. So just let us know if you want us to send that through.
So we've got another question come through now asking which is the best railway operator in the UK. I would be personally a little bit biased here. I would mention LNER. Obviously, I've travelled with them a lot over the past 10 years, and they often win many of the awards for best customer service. So they are certainly very good. I will make a mention of Virgin Trains on the West Coast as well. They travel from Euston up to Manchester and then on to Glasgow and to the north of Wales as well. And also GWR, Great Western Railways. So they travel from Paddington Station in London and they go down to through Bristol down to Devon and Cornwall, which offer a very similar service as well. So they're probably the 3 premier trains and the most common ones that passengers really do enjoy and stay towards the top of that customer satisfaction rating. So we've got another question come through asking, does the BritRail Pass cover all of these services? So other than the luxury train journeys, which Shelley touched on earlier, it covers all of these. So things like the Settle Carlisle Railway is just a normal passenger service, and anything that I've mentioned today is covered by the BritRail Pass. Of course, there are passes which we mentioned, such as the BritRail England Pass or the BritRail Scotland Pass, that do cover these areas, but the BritRail Flexi or BritRail Consecutive do cover all of these trains which I've mentioned today.
We have finished up with the questions. If you do have any more, feel free to ask later. We will always be here, and Jack is obviously working for the Australian Res team, but he's happy to help us out. So if you do have any specific questions about the UK that you'd like to ask Jack when you come through phone or email, just ask for him if you like. Now, I just wanted to touch on first class in the UK can include meals. Now, this is generally from during the week and not in the weekend. So these, we don't state anywhere that they do include meals because they're more of a bonus if they do, because it's not a guaranteed. But just to note that the weekends never include them. So be aware that if they do go out on a weekday and on a weekend, they may get a meal one way and not others. And just to finish up, I want to say that I have these UK Europe maps that you may have seen me handing out, one per store, nice and sparingly, that everyone was wanting a lot more of. Now I'm doing a little bit of a Christmas sale, you could say. So if anyone does want any of these maps, flick me or the Res team an email and I can send you some out. This is a little bit of a nice gesture for the next month. So do, if you do need any, flick me a message, because Eurail maps are quite hard to come by. We do have some of these bigger ones available that I'm now willing to give more than one per store. So let me know. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks for Jack.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Have a good day.